Everyone, welcome to the channel, and in this particular video we are going to talk about the AWS interview questions. Here we are specifically going to talk about 10 interview questions, and these are specifically from the AWS. And as you know, we are covering the multiple AWS interview services, so accordingly I am covering the multiple interview questions as well, which are the real one. So our first question goes as, what is user data in EC2? So if you remember, when we were talking about the EC2, we were talking about the user data as well. And in the user data, we were running few of the scripts, as you can see. And with the help of these scripts, we were able to install the softwares, and we were able to run the prerequisite kind of thing. So whatever prerequisite you have to do on your server side, that all the file creation, software installation, all those things you can do on the EC2 before it gets launched. So whenever your EC2 will come up and it will be in running state, it will come up with all those script execution prior to its running state. So that's the help of the user data. There it will fit in, and it will help you to do the automation kind of thing, or to complete the prerequisite kind of thing while launching your virtual server. Your second question comes as, explain the usage of EIP in EC2. So EIP we have talked while talking about the EC2, and if you remember, EIP stands for Elastic IP address, and this one I think I do have this covered. Yeah, Elastic IP. It's a static public IPv4 address provided by AWS, and it can be used to associate with instance or network interface in a virtual private cloud. Where it is used, like if you have the private EC2 instance, or even if you have a public EC2 instance, and if you see, whenever you start and stop the EC2 instance, its public IP gets changed once you stop and start, correct? But if you want to make it static, you want that same public IP should be there across the multiple state of the your EC2 instance. For that, you can launch one EIP, and you can associate that with your EC2 instance. That will be having a cost, but it will give you a static IP address for your EC2. So that's the usage of your EIP in EC2. Third question comes as, how do we provide a static IP to AWS EC2 instance? So third question is very similar to the second one, but it has been asked in a different way. So whenever you have to provide a static IP to your AWS EC2 instance, you can create one EIP, and you can associate that with the your AWS EC2 instance. Fourth question, what are the different types of EC2? So for that, you can similarly refer to these instance types: t2.micro, t2.xlarge, c5.xlarge, and even if you want to talk in more details, so there are multiple categories of this EC2 instance: general purpose, compute optimized, memory optimized, accelerated, storage optimized, and a different one. There are different families as well: the general purpose, the T family, R family for memory optimized, and C5 for compute optimized. So these are the different categories of the EC2 instances that you can learn more. Then what fifth question, what's the default route in main route table? So route table, if you remember, we have talked that in every VPC there is a default route table, and that default route table is called is main route table as well. So in the main route table, there is one route mentioned, that is as local, and the destination CIDR of your VPC. That means any request which is made from the which is made inside the VPC, that can transverse between this VPC, correct? So it has the full access to flow and to communicate, to establish the communication between the multiple services within the VPC. So that default route is already there in your main route table. Sixth question is, what is the use of VPC endpoint? So if you remember, we have talked about the VPC endpoint as well, and there we have talked about how your private resources can communicate with the other AWS services without using net, and without using internet gateway. So here we have talked about the VPC endpoint. Let me go to the slide there, VPC endpoint, this one. So here if you see, there is a EC2 instance which is in the private subnet, and it has to communicate with the AWS S3 service. For that, there is a VPC endpoint. So with the help of VPC endpoint, you can directly communicate with the other services and it will establish a private communication. So here you left out the NAT gateway, left out the internet gateway, and you directly connected with your AWS S3 with the help of VPC endpoint. It saves your cost as well. It saves your it ensures your security as well by establishing a private network between the different services. Then seventh question comes, how do we ensure that EC2 can avail internet but no request from outside can be made to web app running on AWS EC2? So for that you can create one NAT gateway, and that NAT gateway you can configure in your private subnet, so that only the EC2 instances can make the request for the internet, but no one can from the outside make the request to the your EC2 instance. Correct. So NAT concept will come into here, and that NAT we have talked about here. So in the starting when we were talking about the VPC, so here probably we have talked about the subnets, and then the public subnet and internet gateway, and then NAT gateway. So here if you see, we have this private EC2 in private subnet. It's trying to make the internet request to the internet, that is possible, but while internet is trying to make the request to the EC2 instance, that is broken. So this NAT gateway will come into the picture for this seventh question. Then question is what is target group, and ninth question is define auto scaling group and different policy. So let's see all these three questions together: target group, auto scaling, and different types of load balancer. So for that we will have to move to this EC2 section, and for that let's go from the last question: application load balancer and network load balancer. So these are the two different types of load balancer. The purpose, the protocol support, performance, routing features, sticky sessions, and the use cases are mentioned here. Mainly your application load balancer works on layer 7, while network load balancer work on layer 4. The protocol supported by application load balancer is HTTP, HTTPS, while network load balancer support TCP, UDP, TLS, and the use cases. Network load balancer can be used for those use cases where you need very low latency, and the use cases where you need real-time data streaming for the election results, for live real-time gaming, for live news streaming or something. For IoT related things you can use the NLB, while for the simple microservice architecture web application you can use this application load balancer. Then one of the question was on the target groups. So target group, let's talk about here. Target groups are nothing but it's just the combination or the group of the different EC2 instances which are fulfilling a similar kind of business need. Like if you have different microservices, and for one microservice slash first or slash cart, you want to route the traffic to one target group which will be having 5 EC2 instances, so that whatever the request is coming for the card system, that will go for all these 5 EC2 instances. So with the help of target group you can combine multiple EC2 instances to share the workload. Then the last question was based on the auto scaling group. So if you see, there was a last question, the what is target group, that we covered, different types of load balancer we covered, then auto scaling group. So auto scaling group, it's one of the property of the AWS EC2 instance, you can say, where we do the scaling of the EC2 instances based on the some certain conditions. Correct. So it's a collection of EC2 instances that are treated as a logical grouping for the purpose of automatic scaling and management. It lets you Amazon EC2 instance features such as health check replacement and scaling policy, both maintaining the number of instances in auto scaling group and automatically scaling are the core functionality of the EC2 auto scaling service. What are the different policy? Target tracking scaling, then step scaling, then simple scaling. In simple scaling, it increases and decreases the current capacity of the group based on a single scaling. So one time it will do the scaling, then it will wait for some time. That time duration will be called as cooldown period. Then once again it will do the scaling. For example, CPU utilization goes up to 70%. Auto scaling will add 2 instances, and it will wait for few seconds, it might be minute, and then it will do the further scaling. In the step scaling, it will do based on the how much breach has happened. So it adjusts the capacity of auto scaling based on the magnitude of the alarm breach. So if your threshold reaches up to 70%, it will launch 2 EC2 instance. If it goes for 80%, it will launch 5 EC2 instance. If it goes up to 90, it will launch 10. So based on the different threshold, it will launch the different kind of a scaling it will do. While the target tracking scaling, it does based on the it kind of it does the scaling logically, like if the breach is higher, it will scale up on the higher number. If breach goes down, it will scale down the number of EC2 instances. So it increases and decreases the current capacity of the group based on the temperature, Amazon CloudWatch metric, and a target value. It works similar to the way that your thermostat maintains the temperature of your room. Let's go with the example. If you set a target CPU utilization of 50%, auto scaling add or remove instances as needed to keep CPU usage around 50%. So it will scale up and scale down both. Correct. So that's what we wanted to cover during this AWS interview questions, and we will meet in the next video with the further AWS interview questions and other DevOps interview questions. Till the time, thank you. Bye bye. Stay tuned and subscribe to the channel for more technical content.